So now we've got a couple of lessons on what's called the First Punic War. The war that led to the war that involved Hannibal and Rome. Punic, by the way, is simply the Roman word for people from Carthage, Punica, Carthaginian. So we'll learn about the origins of this conflict, how this particular conflict, how this war started, its origins, why it occurred. And if you understand why it occurs, you're developing your strategic thinking skills, your big picture. Mamertines, Masana, perspective, your point of view. Strategic, paranoia, fear. Maritime, of the sea. Quincare and Corvus. So, the Western Mediterranean in approximately the year 265, 264 BC looks something like this. Roman Republic and the start of their empire covers most of Italy. Not up here yet, that's where the Celts are. But the actual boot bit, by this date, Rome has covered almost, well, all of the mainland. Carthage is this huge maritime, water-based empire. North Africa, here's Carthage there. Southern Spain, islands here. Balearics, Corsica, Sardinia, and crucially, about half, 2/3 of the island of Sicily. Syracuse, a separate city-state just here. This bit here, well, that's the interesting bit. It goes like this. About 20 years earlier, this bit here had been grabbed by the Sons of Mars. Not a motorcycle gang, similar, a gang of mercenaries called the Sons of Mars, the Mamertines, key word, that's their word for it, the Mamertines. So a group of mercenaries, they've been fighting for Syracuse. The war had ended, instead of going home, they'd grabbed this city and used it as sort of a pirate base and a raiding base. So they control this area here. This bit here, that's the mainland, that's Italy. The Romans control this. There's a little bit of water separating Sicily from Italy. Mamertines ruled for quite a long time, quite successful. They've had their own coins made. So they're the Sons of Mars. And then, in 264 BC, Syracuse decides to get rid of them. They're being attacked too much. They march an army towards Messana. The Mamertines panic and they ask for help. They ask anybody who'll help them to come and help them. Carthage responds. Carthage sends a fleet and some soldiers to occupy Messana. So this bit here now, you can imagine this bit here coloured in purple. And they're right next to the Romans. The Roman reaction to all this. In the Senate, you can probably imagine from previous lessons what the Romans are going to think. Now they've got Carthage, who they've always known about. They've traded with them for years. But now they're right next to them. There's nothing in between Carthage and them. The Romans, sort of in their paranoid, panicky way, think, right, if we don't sort this out, they'll attack us, so we better attack them first. So the Romans decide to get involved in Sicily. So the Carthaginians can't have Messana. In fact, they ought to leave Sicily altogether. It's the start of the First Punic War. However, the Romans have got some problems. They've never fought any wars at sea. They haven't got a navy. Rome has an extremely strong army. They've conquered Italy with it. But they got no idea about how to fight at sea. And if they did have, they haven't even got a navy to do it with. So they come up with a couple of solutions. Solution one, it's a bit of luck really. They capture a Carthaginian warship. One gets grounded and abandoned by its crew, and the Romans take it. And they take it apart and they study it, and they notice something very interesting. It's built in the same way as an IKEA cabinet is. It's flat pack. Suddenly it all makes sense. That circular harbour in Carthage that no one's allowed in, that's how come they can turn out so many ships so quickly. They're in kit form. Every piece of wood has a particular lettering on it. It tells you where it fits and what it slots into. Carthaginians have a very fast way of turning out very, very good warships. Now the Romans have figured it out, they can now quickly, in a few months in fact, start turning out hundreds of warships, which is what they do. But then they've got another problem. Now they've got ships, but how they're going to use them. They don't know anything about fighting at sea. So eventually, somebody comes up with a plan. Let us turn our sea battles into land battles. It's called the corvus. It's this gangplank here, with a big spike on the end. Corvus is the Latin word for raven, like a raven's beak here. You can see it's held up on this bit of rope by the mast. And the idea is, you can see it better on this picture, when they get close to an enemy ship, they drop the corvus, the spike smashes into the enemy ship, and now it can't get away. And then they can send soldiers across, and they can turn a sea battle into a land battle. And that's how the Romans are going to fight this war.